Hi, welcome to StatStuff. I'm Matt Hansen. In this lesson, we'll review the lean concept of finding and eliminating the 7 deadly wastes that can lurk within a process. There are no prerequisites for this lesson, so now let's get started right into defining what are the 7 deadly wastes.
Well, the 7 deadly wastes basically describe the most common types of waste that you might see that's occurring within a process. TIMWOOD is usually the acronym used to help remember those 7 different wastes. So a good rule of thumb I recommend, and when you start to evaluate and look for opportunities, is to use these wastes as a guide to help find potential opportunities for improvement within a process. So in no particular order other than just for the sake of the acronym, we'll begin with transportation. It's basically referring to the movement of the product itself, whatever it is that's moving through the process. It's moving it to an area that is not really adding any value. Again, value defined as it's not enhancing the product in any way according to the customer's requirements. And by doing that, it's increasing the risk of that particular product being damaged or creating some sort of future defect. The next one is inventory. Basically, it's referring to the raw materials like the work in process or WIP or finished goods that aren't really creating any income. That's because they represent some sort of capital, some cash outlay that doesn't have any immediate return. So we want to keep inventory at a minimal state as much as possible. The next one might refer to as motion. That's unnecessary movement of the equipment or the operator, those who are working on the product itself. And this is different than the transportation, which is referring to the actual movement of the product. This, for motion, is referring to other things that are moving around the product to help support it. But by doing that, if there's too much motion, it's also creating some risk to safety to the people involved as well as to the assets or equipment that are involved in working with the actual product. Next might be waiting, and that is referring to the time that the product is actually sitting and it's not doing anything, it's just waiting to be processed or transported. Next one would be overproduction. Very often this is considered one of the worst kinds of waste. It's when there's too much that's being produced, when there's more product produced than what the customer really wants, and it usually comes out of something like a batch process. Now, this will usually hide other types of waste like inventory and waiting, which is often why it's considered one of the worst kinds of waste. Next one would be over-processing, and this is where you're referring to doing too much work to a product that is really required by the customer. This could also include things like using overly complex tools or advanced equipment or using people who are over-experienced than what's really necessary for that particular product. The last one is referring to defects, and that's basically any product or whatever it is that's flowing through the process that does not meet the customer's requirements, because if it doesn't, it's going to cause some form of rework, rescheduling, delays, or things like that. Now, there are several others that might suggest an 8th type of deadly waste. Some of those that have been suggested have included like human talent, unused human talent, or also having products or services that are not meeting the customer specs. But typically, it's these first 7 items that are often referred to as the 7 deadly wastes.
Alright, before we close this lesson, let's discuss how we can apply some of these concepts in a practical way.
What I'd like you to do is try to identify at least 3 different processes that you interact with on a regular basis. And then for each one of those, try to consider the 7 deadly wastes in light of each of those processes. And then try to ask yourself these questions. First of all, which of those 7 deadly wastes do you think may exist in each of those different processes? And how often do you think you might see those 7 deadly wastes occur within each of the processes? And finally, if you were to eliminate those particular deadly processes, what kind of potential impact or improvement would you expect to see in the overall efficiency of the process?
Well, that wraps up this lesson. Check out StatStuff.com for many more resources that can help you achieve powerful results. I'm Matt Hansen. Thanks for watching.